In this video, we're looking at learning and activating vocabulary. So not just learning words, but activating them so you can use them confidently when you're speaking. Now, with learning vocabulary, there are just two things that are really, really important. And if you learn nothing else today but these two things, please remember these two. And the first one is to learn words in context. Sometimes we get lists of words. You can even buy books with lists of words, and we try and memorize all of them. And it's almost a waste of time. It's such a missed opportunity, because if you learn in context, so in a sentence, in a paragraph, in a text, in a story, you learn so much more about how the word is used, and it helps your fluency when you want to use the word later. So always try and learn words in context. Be very careful with your word lists. Hide them away. Number 2 is to learn from sounds. You see, when we learn, we often read. And then we try and read aloud to practice speaking. But reading aloud is a very, very high level skill. Even the best actors in the world take years to develop this skill. And so how can we expect to do that as students? It's not the best skill. It's much better to learn from sounds, because in reality, how do we spend most of our time? Listening to sounds and making sounds. And this is why many students cannot understand a native speaker or cannot understand a film properly, because you're not used to learning from sounds. So, in this video, I'm going to look at vocabulary from part 1, and we're going to learn from sounds, which means it might be difficult, but it means I think it will be very useful. Later, you can download the PDF and read everything. But for now, I'm going to ask you to listen, to repeat again, changing a word, so you get more flexibility. And finally, to repeat, but make it true for you. Because when you make something true for you, you personalize it, and it really helps you remember and how to use the word. Okay, so let's begin. First of all, we often, in part 1, there's usually 4 topics that you're given. Either talk about your home, or talk about your hometown, or work, or study. Of course, the classic question is, do you work or are you a student? So let's look at how we can answer this, and just practicing learning from sounds. Okay, so I will look at this one question first, give an answer. I just want you to repeat. Okay, do you work or are you a student? I work for a bank. Notice for a, we say furra. Furra. I work for a. I work for a bank. Can you repeat? I work for a bank. I work for a school. I work for the government. Great. Now, if I just say the word, can you repeat? So if I say bank, you say, I work for a bank. Bank. A school. The government. Great. Now, let's say the sentence that is true for you. I work for myself. What about you? Great. Let's expand our answer now and let's talk about how long we have worked. So, I have worked there. In here, let's contract I have to I've. I've worked there for 15 years or so. Or so is a really nice phrase, just meaning more or less. I've worked there for 15 years or so. Repeat. I've worked there for 5 years or so. I've worked there for 6 months or so. Great. Again, I'll say the word, you say the phrase. 15 years. For 5 years or so. For 6 months. Great. And now, what's true for you? I've worked there for 2 years or so. What about you? And finally, let's talk about what we do in our job. Basically, my job involves designing products. So, let's repeat. Basically, my job involves designing products. Basically, my job involves selling products. Repeat. Basically, my job involves teaching others. Repeat. Great. I'll say the word, you say the phrase. Designing products. Selling products. Teaching others. Fantastic. And now what's true for you? So basically, well, my job involves teaching others. What about you? Great. So now we put them all together. Do you work or are you a student? I work for myself. I've worked for myself for 2 years or so. Basically, my job involves teaching others. And now, what about you? Great. So there are more questions in this part, but we will finish here. Other questions are, what do you like about your work? What is your ideal job? And so on. You can go down, download the audio, and you can get an MP3 to practice and activate all the vocabulary in the same way, learning from sounds for these questions. That's it for this video.